Hey guys, Derek here with Battle Axe Barbell. I'm here today at the Man Sports headquarters. Today we're filming a how-to video on the conventional deadlift. For anybody unfamiliar of what a deadlift is, it is just a raw movement of just picking weight up off the ground. It's a posterior chain movement. For anybody unfamiliar with the posterior chain is, it's basically everything down from your upper back, your lower back, glutes, hamstrings, and even your calves. That's the dominant aspect of the movement. Overall, it uses almost every single muscle in your body, from stabilizers in your chest, your core, your quads, even your ankles. Everything is being worked during this movement. Whether or not you've ever deadlifted before, we're gonna start from ground zero. So what that means is we're gonna approach this from a human anatomy standpoint. As in, we're gonna attack this mechanically on what the body should perform at, where the joints move, how the body's supposed to function at a movement like this, coming from the floor up. When it comes to setting up for the deadlift, height is very important. You wanna have a standard height of whatever a 45-pound plate is. Whether or not you're using a bumper plate that's 25 pounds, 15 pounds, 10 pounds, you wanna make sure it's always the same height off the ground. That's a standard deadlift. Working off of that, then you can add weight and slowly move on from there. If you're at a facility or a gym that doesn't have bumper plates, I would recommend finding the actual height from the bar to the floor and then going off of there. Most human beings could probably throw a 45 on there. If you guys aren't comfortable with that yet and you don't have the stabilizers of the core activation there yet, find a gym, find a facility you can use that has bumper plates that have those weight increments in this height. So the reason behind that exactly is the smaller plates that you use, you're actually increasing your range of motion from the floor up. So if you were to use any plate smaller than this standard size, the bar gets lower to the ground, in turn increasing the range of motion, as well as which makes it more difficult. You're creating a further distance for you to travel from the floor up. There are a few different styles, variations of the deadlift as far as hand placement, feet placement goes. We're gonna be approaching this today mechanically sound. We're gonna be stacking our joints. We're gonna be shortening our range of motion as much as possible. And by doing that, we're gonna do this. We're gonna walk up to the bar. We're gonna put both feet out underneath us. The easiest way to judge where our feet placement should be if this is your first time deadlifting is put your ankles or the balls of your feet right underneath your hips. Right underneath your hips should be your knees, and then under that should be your ankles. This way we're stacking all the joints. We're making sure everything is mechanically sound as possible. Get a couple warm-ups in, stand over the bar. You wanna make sure you get a couple bends in. While I'm doing that, I'm also checking my hips. I'm hinging my hips at the same time. I'm making sure my back's nice and straight. Then after that point, if you're really comfortable with that and you're like, all right, my feet are straight, my knees are coming out in front of me and my hips feel nice and good, you're gonna then stack your joints of your arms. What I mean by that is where your shoulders are, have your wrists right underneath them. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna go straight down, grab the bar. Once you've grabbed the bar, you should be able to double check. You see your wrist, you see your elbow, and then you see your shoulder. This is stacking the joints. You're making sure you're as mechanically sound as possible. Before you actually deadlift and you pick up that weight off the floor, there's one last detail you need to hit base on, and that's your center of gravity. To make sure this weight is gonna move straight up, you wanna have that bar right over your midfoot. Your midfoot is about the halfway point between your heel and your toe. It's easy to see that. So you walk up to the bar, you're gonna stand right over your feet, and you're gonna be able to look straight down, and you should be able to see this bar right over the middle of your foot. That's the last thing to check on to make sure that you're ready to deadlift. After you're nice and warmed up, you've gone through your mental checklist, you tell yourself, hey, I'm mechanically sound, we're gonna deadlift. Coming up to the bar, we're gonna make sure our hands are gripping nice and tight, our shoulders are right over our wrist, our knees are over our ankles, our hips are above that. We're gonna make sure we're getting nice and tight. We're gonna pull up on the bar, feel our back engage, making sure everything is nice and straight from the hips to the shoulder. Once you've done that checklist, you'll start to pull up on the bar. You'll feel yourself level out. It's finding your center of gravity is what that is. Don't ever try to just jerk off the ground and yank it. What that can do in turn is can throw you around, jostle you, and actually make the difficulty of the movement 10 times harder. So after you've centered your gravity and you've pulled it nice and tight, you're gonna slowly stand up while you're bracing, go up. Once you get past the knees, you're gonna start shifting your hips forward, rolling your shoulders back until you're in the lockout position. As you get more comfortable with the deadlift, there's some cues you wanna think about as you're doing it. Making sure you're getting a nice full breath, you're filling up your diaphragm, you're getting as much oxygen inside of your chest as possible before you break the weight off of the floor. The biggest reason to do this is you're filling your muscles with fresh oxygen. You're just delivering it straight to there, and it's giving it everything it needs. Second point, taking a big breath before you deadlift, is diaphragmic engagement. What that does is when you get as big of a breath as you can before you deadlift, you're engaging your core all around. Deadlifts, a lot of the time, what a lot of people do is they try to use their back. They try to use their back to compensate everything else. If you're taking a big enough breath in and you're bracing properly, you're able to not only use your abs, your obliques, you're also able to use your erectors, your lower back, your core. Once you've taken that breath in and you've broken the weight off of the floor, you wanna do a diaphragmic breath out. And what I mean by that is you wanna force that air out, almost like you're blowing up a balloon. You wanna have resistance by pressing your tongue against the back of your teeth, shortening the air escaping out of your mouth to give it that force, to go that breath out. And what that does, it helps engage things 10 times more. It helps stabilize your core. It helps you from just not hurting yourself at the end of the day. Another really big cue or a point to think about while you're deadlifting is external elbow rotation or arm rotation. As you're standing up and you have that bar in your hands, you wanna think about externally rotating your elbows. What that in turn does is it helps give you more lat and back engagement throughout the movement. It helps open up your chest, it helps pull your lats into place, it helps center up your gravity throughout the movement. And to complete the deadlift by standing up all the way, you need to make sure your knees are locked out, your chest is open, your elbows are pulled down into place, and you're nice and comfortable. You're feeling that weight pulling you down. You're feeling it stressing your central nervous system. That is how you complete a deadlift. Once you've locked out your deadlift, instead of slowly bringing the weight back down to the floor, the easiest way to do it is to get a hip break. Just breaking the hips, controlling the weight down to the floor. Don't tax yourself on the way down. Deadlifts are different from a squat and a bench press because there's basically one way up and then a lot less energy on the way down. You want to control it to the floor. You don't want to throw it down. You don't want to make everyone mad around you. You want to be able to have a controlled descent without getting your knees in the way. The biggest thing when it comes to deadlifting, guys, is don't hurt yourself. Don't push it. Stay in your parameters. Stay at a weight that's very comfortable for you, but yet challenging. Get those reps in, get the volume in, and quality over quantity is the most important thing when it comes to deadlift. So making sure your back isn't rounded, making sure you aren't jolting your knees around, you aren't struggling, you shouldn't be seeing any shaking throughout your movement. Deadlifts can be a very difficult and risky injury type movement, but done right, they can really help and carry over to every single exercise you can perform. So we just wrapped up the basic conventional deadlift for today. There's so many different variations of deadlifts out there in the world, but next time you deadlift, approach it mechanically, figure out what works best for you, listen to your body. Like, subscribe. If you like this video and it helped you out and you're exercising and you're deadlifting, comment it, let us know what you want to see next. Remember, sumo's cheating.